What a lot of people don't tell you is that between the age of 45 and 55, those are actually some pretty dangerous years. A lot of people don't tell you. A lot of people don't know this until you reach that age and stage. But between 45 and 55, shit can actually get a little crazy, a little turbulent. Now, this is what I mean. I'm going to break out 4 or 5 examples. One of them is midlife crisis that many men go through, most men. Number 2 is menopause, something that a lot of women go through. Number 3 is, for a lot of people that have kids or had younger people in the family, they start flapping their wings and flying off, and now you got some of this empty nester thing starting to set in. Number 4, you got your health. You always got your health. And number 5, you've got potentially retirement. Now, some people are setting themselves up pretty well for retirement. Some people will never retire. I'm not one of those people that set themselves up pretty well. I'm one of those people that'll never retire, but for a different reason, and I'll talk about that. So, just going into it briefly. 1, midlife crisis. A lot of men, most men, go through what's called a midlife crisis. Now, some women brush that shit off like, fuck out of here with that. You ain't going through shit. I've been going through a whole life crisis. You're talking about a midlife crisis. But somewhere in your late 30s, in your 40s, probably by 45, most men have entered what's called a midlife crisis. I've gone through it. I think I'm still probably in it. And so, stereotypically, it's, this middle-aged man like myself, young Gen Xer, what up, baby, dating, fucking, marrying somebody 20 years younger, somebody 26, 28, 30, something like that. Or they go to the dealership and they go get the newest drop top, convertible that they can find, because they have to get something that symbolizes that they're still young. That's simplified. That's not really what it is. But it's definitely a fucking evaluation. You just start to wonder, like, have I made the right decisions? Am I winning in life? Did I win? Am I losing? Because it feels like I wasted, it feels like dreams unfulfilled, not deterred, like unfulfilled. Dreams that crashed to the ground. And so it's just this reevaluation. You start to wonder who you can trust. Should you go solo? Should you make new friends and acquaintances? It's just real foggy. And a lot of people don't tell you about this until you reach that age. And then different people come out the woodwork like, oh yeah, I decided to grow my beard out. I decided to, travel the world, whatever the fuck. But it is a reevaluation. I definitely had some turbulence. It also coincided a little bit with around the time my mom passed. I went into what I think is a midlife crisis about 2 years before she passed. But then once she passed, it just all fell into its own little black hole. And so, there was some turbulence, some things that I'm sure she would not have necessarily been proud of. And some things that maybe I just had to go through in that time in my life. But I'm still here, and maybe I should make a video about that with some specificity of some of the shit that I went through in my own midlife crisis. But also, I'm a little bit different. Like I said, I'm a young Gen Xer. My audience usually ranges from about 35 to 60, 65. So you got some millennials in there. You got some boomers in there. And also, I'm a Sigma male, or I describe myself as a Sigma male. Some people feel a certain way about that label. I don't really give a fuck. Good or bad, I don't really give a fuck. But there's certain things about it that does describe some of the shit that I do. And if you've seen any of my videos, then you know what I'm talking about. If you're brand new, go check out some of the other shit that I got. I talk about different shit. Sigma male shit, midlife crisis shit, middle-aged man shit, whatever. But, so number 1, like I said, you got, for men, midlife crisis. Between 45 and 55, you got to deal with that shit. 2, you got menopause. You got to be careful when you say it and how you say it, because you don't want to get canceled out here. You got menopause. Now, that's something that affects most women, and it affects most men who are in relationships with those women. And I know I'm on one side of the fence. I'm a little slanted about it. I got my opinions about it. But it's something that affects women that women don't be talking about in their 20s, 25, 30, 35. They don't really be talking about menopause until they start talking about menopause. And there's perimenopause, and there's terimenopause, and there's sherry-menopause, and whatever the fuck. But it starts becoming a part of their lives, and you have to deal with it. And you got the sensitive men that are like, oh, baby, tell me what you need. And you got the Neanderthals that are like, bitch, that's your problem. Like, I need it to be, I need the temperature set the way I need it set. And also, I need sex. And then you got the hybrids. I'm more of a hybrid. But that becomes something that you have to deal with. Women have to deal with it because it affects their bodies. And people who've never experienced it, and especially men, have no idea what the fuck they're dealing with. But it's something, like I said, between 45 and 55, you're going to have to deal with it. And it could be a pleasant experience, maybe not so pleasant. And for men, it affects us in the sense of like, it's been a minute, right? Like back in the day, we were every other day. If we went a whole week without something popping off, somebody getting smashed at the end of the week. If we go 2 weeks and your period wasn't involved in that, there's a problem. 3 weeks, somebody done already cheated. But my point being is when you get to midlife crisis, when you get to middle age and you reach menopause, shit changes. And it's not necessarily, relationships are different. It could be her actual desire for the person she's in a relationship with. But more so, it's just her body. It's just a change in like different chemicals and hormones are just changing. And so she doesn't have the same appetite that maybe she once had. And men are supposed to deal with that. Like I say, you got the good types that are like, oh, baby, tell me what I need to do. You got the other types that are like, look, you holler at me when it's time to step up to the plate. But that's something you got to deal with. Nobody tells you about this shit until you reach this age, and then it's like midlife crisis, menopause. Y'all wouldn't talk about this shit on Friends. Y'all wouldn't talk about this shit in Living Single. I'm showing my age a little bit. But then thirdly, you got the empty nester shit that starts to set in. Like I said, if you've had kids, and hopefully if you've had a good experience with your kids, if you did not have a good experience as a parent or with your kids, and you can't wait for these motherfuckers to get out the house, ping, that's different. But if you did have a good experience with your kids, they had a good childhood as far as you know of, and you had a good experience raising them, and so on and so forth, and you actually kind of miss them. You actually miss them. Then when the empty nester shit starts to hit in, for some people it's earlier because they had kids earlier. But roughly for a lot of people, say, like I say, between 40 and 50, but 45 and 55, they start flapping their wings. They start getting out, you know what, I'm gonna smoke to the young ones, starting to flap their wings. These were our babies. They were in mama's belly, then on our knees, on dad's shoulders and dad's fucking arms. And then at some point, they were, on their bikes, training wheels. Then at some point, they want the keys to the car. And at some point, they got keys to their own fucking place. And their own fucking car. And their own jobs. And starting their own lives. That's good. That's progress. It feels a certain weird way when you start reaching these ages and stages that nobody really prepares you for until you get there. Maybe if you got a good relationship with the generation above you, your mom, dad, grandparents, whatever, they might tell you, oh yeah, when we dropped you off at college, we was happy than a motherfucker. But, yeah, that empty nester shit, you started to reach this certain age and stage, and it's like, the house, nobody's here. And they're doing their thing. And they don't really want you to fuck with them. They don't really want you to disturb their shit. They come back home. They holler at you when they need something, blah, blah, blah. At different points. They actually connect with you and come back to you in ways that you don't really notice. And so maybe I'll make a video about that. Because I remember my age, I remember being back in the day, that the different ways that I would come back home that maybe, grandma didn't really pick up on. But they do come back if you had that good relationship with them. So what I'm getting to is it just starts to feel weird at home because they're not there. They don't need you as much. And they're physically not there. And now, if you're a single parent, you're like, what the fuck do I do? I've known different people who were single parents when empty nester time hit. A lot of them were women. They were like, what the fuck do? I have no purpose now. And I'm like, that's bullshit. You have a purpose. You were someone before them, you were someone during them, and you're someone once they leave. If you're a couple, okay, especially if you've been in a relationship for a while, part of the nature, the context, the theme of your relationship was this family, this collective. And now it's back to just two people like how it was, but it's not two people in their 20s or their 30s, pre-kids. It's two people in their 40s, their 50s, who might be a little sick of each other, who might be a little tired of each other, who've built up some history, hopefully good history, but you've built up history. And for the last 15, 18, 20 years, a significant part of that history... Oh man, just asked for some rolling papers. I smoke out of a pipe, dude. But for the last 15, 18, 20 years, a significant amount of your life and your identity was tied into this familial unit, La Familia. Now, they don't need you as much. Potentially, your partner, your spouse, don't need you as much. Even worse, if there's some separation now, y'all not clicking, what brought y'all together, that gravity isn't holding anymore. It can get turbulent. Some people, they step out because of it. Hey, I got more freedom now. I can do more things. And so, like I said, when I mean step out, I mean they cheat. They go and do different things because shit's getting weird. They done hit their midlife crisis. Their wife or girlfriend is in menopause. The kids done left. They're wondering what their identity is, or they feel some newfound space and freedom. Shit can get turbulent. What was once perhaps a stable environment can get choppy and uncertain. 4, you got your health. Really, your health is your whole life. But I think, again, around this age and stage, 45 to 55, some people be dropping. Some people dead at 51. You're like, what the fuck? When you was 13, 51 sounded like, oh, you lived a full life. When you was 17, when you was 25, you're like, 51, that's double my years. That's 2 lifetimes of mine. And then when you hit the age and stage, you're like, that's all a motherfucker get? That's it? That's it? Now, some people think when you die, when you're done with this life, that's it. That's it. There's no other existence. I'm someone... I don't know if it's because I'm a Sigma male or for the religion I grew up in or just how I see things. I think, my own personal belief, this is some type of avatar simulation video game type experience. And so it's possible we might have played the same game in the same area and terrain with the same shit over and over. It's possible that, there's more than beyond just this life. And I believe that. What it is, I don't know. But I think energy never dies. It reconstitutes. And I think in some weird, fucked up type of way, we live an avatar video game type experience. And so you're supposed to live it and get I didn't mean to go off on this tangent, but you're supposed to live it and have this experience and make shit as best as you can better for other people, because we're all playing the same fucking video game. You know what I'm saying? So, of course, in a certain way, you're trying to win, but because of the bigger picture of things, you're also trying to make things better for other people. But it doesn't end with just this turn. You got more tokens. Just don't know what that game is going to look like. You know what I'm saying? Once you get your turn back, I just don't know what that game is going to look like. But anyway, so your health is your whole life. But when you reach 45 to 55, it's very possible you could fucking die. I got this one video. Go check out my other shit. I got this video where I talk about how just being able to do 40 consecutive push-ups when you're over the age of 40 could reduce your chances of dying of a heart attack or stroke in a calendar year by 94 fucking percent. Now, I might be a little off about the percentages. I'm pretty sure I remember it being over 90, so it could be 91. But and go look it up. Talk about this in another video, but also go look this shit up. If you are over the age of 40, men, if you are over the age of 40 and you can do 40 consecutive push-ups, those men in this study who were over the age of 40, regardless of whether they smoked, regardless of their location, regardless of economics, these men over 40, if they were able to do 40 consecutive push-ups, 40 consecutive push-ups, those men in the next calendar year, 94% of them did not die because of anything cardiovascular. Now, it's more detailed than that, because some people hear me describe it. I might not be describing it the best way. Some people hear me describe that and they'll be like, well, they could have not died because of... I'm telling you, there was a correlation. 40 consecutive push-ups, over 40. So you know a motherfucker like me, I'm pumping out 50. And that means I'm going to die in a car accident or some shit. Hopefully I'll be by myself and just kill myself. But anyway, that's a whole other thing. My point being is, I'm fucking with y'all. My point being, though, is it's health. Health is whole life. And at 45 to 55, man, you got aches that take weeks, maybe even months to fucking, get better. Bruises, potentially breaks, sprains. I know so many people that retired from basketball, not because their skills deteriorated, but because they saw somebody break or sprain something. Plenty of dudes. Ladies too, that's like, no, I can't do it. I got to go to work in the morning. I got a career. I got a business. I own 3 small businesses. So I know, now not all of them require me to physically be doing something, but I still know, like, I'm out here shooting around, take it to the hole real quick, or jump and land and come down or something, and now my life is affected for the next 4 to 6 weeks. So I get it. Health-wise, the shit you got to eat. I started eating less red meat. I actually have a day of the week, a meatless Monday, where I just don't eat any meat. So out of 52 Mondays a year, I gain in about maybe 40. That's a huge reduction in meat. And like I say, I eat less red meat. I eat more turkey and diversify. You got your boy diversify. Got to diversify with different other things. My point being is when you were 15, when you were 25, maybe you thought about health in terms of working out. Maybe you thought about health in terms of your look, your abs, your muscles, your shoulders, aesthetics. Maybe some young people thought about health in terms of what you put in your body, which you are what you eat. But it's between 45 and 55 that you really reach that stage where it's like, if I'm trying to live any longer, I got to really think about this shit and start to become more disciplined. So your boy, I try to get in my push-ups twice a week. I try to get in my crunches twice a week. I try to get in hooping once or twice a week. Some curls once or twice a week. Of course, none of that is consistent. Very rarely is it consistent. But I do manage to do it. And it's so much better than not doing it. And it has its effect. If you can be more consistent with it, then it'll be even better results. But it has its effect. It has its results. So a lot of times people will roll up on me and they'll be like, hey, man, what you doing, dog? You working out and shit? What you doing? I'm like, push-ups. Motherfucker. Push-ups. I get into, and another thing I mentioned in another video, something else you got to do with your health when you get older. You may not be able to run and jump. I did something to my knee a little while back. I was killing them on the court, popping them nets. And I knew something was up with my knee, and I just couldn't stop playing because I was loving it. And then once I stopped playing, I had to stop playing. But anyway, my knee was like, stop playing. But it took me like 2 to 3 weeks to finally recover. Luckily, hopefully it wasn't nothing serious. But if you can't run and jump, if you don't have that mobility that you had 10, 15, 20 years ago, I like tennis. If you can't bounce around like that and you don't want to deal with the recovery time, swimming, getting in that water. So I'm someone that likes to swim, but in particular, I like to get in that wave pool. Not every place has a wave pool, but when you can find one, get in that water, get in some shit that's about shoulder high. And I like to get in there, and I like to clap. Try to fucking clap. Try to a loud clap. Try a fast clap. And try to make your not your palm, but try to make this part here connect. You could just make it all just straight like this, but try to, and so you're trying to clap underwater. It works this shit. Oh, woo! You don't need to go to the gym. Get in some water. Get in some water that's about shoulder deep that you're not going to die and drown in. And try to do some claps. You know, you can work out that way. And so there's, you know, you can do knee things, knee ups, you know what I'm saying, different exercises in the water, different little sprints. My point being is health. And there's actually so many more things to go into. There's so many different aspects about health that I'm still ignorant about. Motherfuckers be talking about tofu and quinoa and flaxseed and all this other stuff. And I'm like, you making up words. Stop making up words. But apparently, it has some type of health effect that I'm supposed to know about. Supposed to learn about. We'll see. And then I think, number 5? You got retirement. Approaching retirement. Some people are setting themselves up very nicely. Some people will put on game. Somebody told them. Somebody got them on the track in their 20s, maybe in their 30s. They started lining stuff up. Some people, they have a different work history. I have a different work history. And some people just, you know, just who they are, how they conduct themselves. There's no retirement. You know, even if they live long enough to make it to retirement, like, there's no retirement. There's nothing saved up. I'm one of those people that, being an entrepreneur, like I say, I don't know if you're new to my videos, but being a middle-aged Sigma male entrepreneur, I've owned different businesses. I actually got to shut one down. Just had decided to shut it down this morning. But that's all right, because I'm reviving another one. So, you know, your boy diversified, got to stay in motion. But because of that, there's different advantages to being an entrepreneur, to being self-employed, and there's different disadvantages. And one of the potential disadvantages is setting up retirement. When you're not necessarily sure when or how money's going to come in, and when money comes directly to you, as opposed to going to the government and they get their piece and then they can set this aside for you, or building up 401ks. I know there are self-employment 401ks. That's where sponsors are supposed to jump in. I know there's self-employment 401k instruments and people that provide that. But for the most part, most entrepreneurs, they either don't know about it or feel like it's not applicable to them. So you end up with a situation where a lot of entrepreneurs, and I'm really in this situation, they haven't set themselves up in a traditional way for retirement. And most motherfuckers don't think about retirement in their 20s, early 30s. It's not until most people start reaching, what did I say? 45 to around 55, that it starts, maybe in this day and age, we get a lot of targeted advertisement. Now, I'm someone that thinks that targeted advertisement has its good and its bad. Technology, just about everything in this life has its good and its bad. It depends on how it's applied, how it's used. But for the most part, a lot of times the stuff that we see is targeted to us. And full disclosure, I own a company that does some of that work. So I know. So what I'm saying is when you reach about 45 to 55, maybe your body tells you to start thinking about retirement. Or more, maybe these motherfucking commercials, these advertisements, these impressions start showing up saying, hey, you set aside anything for retirement? What are you doing for retirement? Oh, we can hook you up with retirement. So you start thinking about retirement. And again, it's not something that most people tell you about or even talk about until you reach that age and stage. And then you're out at the cookout talking with different people, and they're like, oh yeah, Bob just retired 2 weeks ago. Oh yeah, and so-and-so was setting themselves up to retire early, and you sitting here like, I'm going to work until I motherfucking die. Now, being a small business owner, entrepreneur, loving what I do, even when I want to do better, I still love what I do. I was never retired. Now, there's retirement in terms of I'm done working. There's retirement in terms of now I can decide what I want to do in life, and I'm not obligated to show up to work. And then there's retirement like I got money and bread and resources saved so that I can do those things. And like I say, in that context, I'm like, look, I was, as far as stopping working, I was never going to retire. in terms of like deciding how to use my time, I kind of already been doing that as an entrepreneur. Business and, business mixed in, I already been doing that. So as far as getting your bread together and have everything stacked up so that you can do that shit, that's an ongoing thing. But retirement is something that you don't generally think about until you hit about 45 to 55, and then you really should. If you didn't before, this is damn near the last period you got to get yourself straight. And again, this is where the financial advisors come in with an advertisement. All right, so but yeah, so those are the different things that you have to, no one tells you about. And so between 45 and 55, the script changes. Different shit enters your life that you were not really prepared for. You had never really thought about. Midlife crisis, menopause, empty nest, different health changes, retirement, sex and dating. I'm a young Gen Xer, and I'm in a long-term relationship. But I often think, like, if I was out here dating, now I'm middle-aged, so I'm not young, I'm not old, I'm young old. But if I was out here having a date between 45 and 55, it's like, do you still go to the club? Do you meet up at the grocery store? Do you actually go online? You know what I'm saying? Like, I know some people that have met life partners, got married, some good experiences, or some long-term relationships. They were in a nice relationship, had a steady fuck partner, and someone they could take trips with and they did that for 4, 5, 6 years. And then some people had very shitty experiences, very disappointing experiences. But I'm saying, that's one thing when you're 25, 33, 40. But when you hit 45 to 55, like, would you really be out here on apps? I'm sure they probably have apps for that demographic. But it's just like, I'm a young Gen Xer. They're going to reach a time period when people 45 to 45 to 55, the millennials and the Gen Zers and the alphas, as they reach that, their experience will be different. But that's also another aspect of between 45 and 55 for some people. Dating, you know what I'm saying, their love lives and connecting with people. I've known some people that have had sad experiences because they're not 25 anymore, and they wish that they were, and they think that dating is a 25-year-old, 30-year-old person game, especially for a lot of women, different stereotypes. Oh, you didn't meet somebody, or, your relationship ended it. Last thing I'm going to say. So previously, you had a generation of women, we'll say older Gen Xers, boomers, and going back, where if they got in a long-term relationship, definitely if they got married and started a family, and that relationship ended, and she's 50, over. Her dating prospects are slim to none. Getting remarried, slim to none. People talking bad about her, definite. The relationship with her kids, and like who is this woman now? It was back in the day. Now you have a situation of people between 45 and 55. That's why I had to bring it up before I let you go. Now you have a situation of today's age where you have some Gen X women and then some millennials, but women who reach a certain age and stage where before they might have felt frightened about the ending of that relationship, the dissolvement of that family unit, and who she is and what her purpose is. And now you've got these women, when the youngest graduates from high school, when or college, maybe even sophomore year of high school, when the youngest reaches a certain point, when that woman, God bless her empowering heart, when that woman feels like, oh, we've reached a stage where I don't need you anymore. I can do this better or with less drama on my own. We don't have to be in this relationship anymore. We did what we did. It was beautiful, or not. But we had these kids, and we dealt with each other. And now that baby girl is 16, and she's about to be a junior in high school, yeah, I think we need to talk. I know it's your name on the deed, maybe, but I think you might need to move out. You might need to leave the house for us, for your wife and your kids, for your kids. You need to leave it for your kids, even though they're leaving. You know what I'm saying? But it's like, yeah, we might need to talk. I was thinking 45 to 55. I'm telling you, I haven't experienced that part yet, but I got half of my shit packed. You ain't gonna catch me slipping. You ain't gonna catch me off guard. Hell no. Hell no. If she make that move, I'm ready. Anyway, this your boy, Diversified, that middle-aged guy. You know how I do. Oh shit, this dude just hit his head walking by on the... This dude just hit his head on the sign walking by. It's getting crazy out here. This your boy. He ain't even smoking. I am. Anyway, I'll holla at y'all. This your boy.